Morning, all of you, Mr. Secretary General, mayors of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Hans Christian Andersen, or H.C. Andersen as he's named here in Denmark, once said, "Gratitude is the memory of the heart." And today I am very grateful to see all of you here in our capital, Copenhagen. A couple of weeks ago, many of us met on the other side of the planet to the UN Climate Summit. And back there, you, Mr. Secretary General, called on all of us to take action. And I guess this is why we are here today, to shape the future that we want. And all of us, of course, know that climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing humanity. And cities are unfortunately a part of the problem. Today, cities around the world account for 70% of the global CO2 emission. It means that cities all over the world is also a part of the solution. You are the solution. And I'm very happy to say that Copenhagen actually is a good example. Since 2005, our capital has reduced its emissions by almost 40%. And as you probably know by now, Copenhagen aims to be the first carbon neutral capital only 6 years from now. I think what is extremely important to underline is that this is not only a political question and not only a political choice. I can see almost everywhere in Copenhagen that the green solutions nowadays are integrated in our everyday life. Only a few weeks ago, we opened the new metro line, of course, fully electrified, above ground. More than 50% of Copenhageners bike to work, to school, every day, even when it rains like it does today, and I'm sorry for that. And in our spare time, many people bike to the harbor to go to swim, because the water today is so clean. I can tell you, when I was a little girl, it wasn't clean, and we couldn't go swimming in our harbor. And fortunately, the weather in Denmark is often too cold to do it, but still, it's possible. And all this is not a result of fortune. This is a result of political decisions to clean the water, to invest in bikeways. And I think in this way, Copenhagen shows that the long and close ties between pollution and progress are finally broken. That goes for the rest of Denmark as well. Since the Berlin Wall fell down, Denmark's GDP has grown by more than 50%. It's quite something. Yet, in the same period of time, our use of energy has remained constant, and the CO2 emission has actually fallen. And now, as Connie said, we are raising the bar even further. Of course we are. Last year, a unified Danish parliament, and I'm very proud of that, set out to reach climate neutrality with net zero emissions by 2050 at the latest. And this year, my new formerly government set the target even higher, a reduction of 70% in our greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And yes, you heard the correct number. Our reduction target is actually 70% in 2030. Do we know how to reach that goal? To be honest with you, the answer is no. Of course, we have many of the answers. And together with you, we'll find many of the necessary solutions. But not all of them, or at least we don't know all of them yet. And you know what? If you ask me, had we known all the solutions by now, the target of 70% would not have been ambitious enough. And this is, if you ask me, what political leadership is about today. And no country and no company and no city can do this alone. We need all cities to act and to make it in time. We must pave the way for green business. We must allocate, and I think this is very important, much more money into green research and development. That's why we have decided to double up what we in Denmark use in green research already next year, double up. We need to ensure more and better cooperation, of course, at national level, city level, global level. We have to push inside the European Union. And we must make sure that I am a social democrat before I got green. And when I wake up in the morning, I am still a social democrat before I am green. And this is why I also want to underline to you that we need to make sure that the green transition, that is so important for all of us, do not lead to inequality. That's the promise we have to give to the world. It will be extremely difficult, but it's necessary. And we must form new and strong partnerships, as you have already done, between government, cities, private sector, civil society, to include everyone. And as grown-ups, we must listen very carefully to the children, to the youngsters, to the youth people. Cherish their commitment and encourage them to keep the spirit high. Because actually today they speak on behalf of someone else than themselves, on behalf of nature, environment, and the future. And we need to act to improve it all, ladies and gentlemen. Just living is not enough. One must have sunshine, freedom, and a little flower. By this statement, Hans Christian Andersen is right, I think, once again. The future is, and that's the funny thing about being a politician, is what we want it to be. We are carrying it in our hands, and sometimes simple things are made too complicated. If we want to change the way we live today, we can change it. Let's make the greatest cities in the world, the greenest cities in the world. Let's take back the future. Thank all of you. Thank you for engagement.